Never before have I been so grateful that I decided not to wait. Hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on volume 4 of Heaven Official's Blessing! And oh man, I finished chapters 120 and 121 yesterday. And I was like, I can't wait! But I'm going to blame it on my trip. This is the last recording I am doing before my trip. I'm going to be gone for 10 days. It's insanity. And this is the last recording for Heaven Official's Blessing I'm going to do before I leave on that trip. Not gonna lie, I already know that it's gonna end in a damn tease and a damn cliffhanger, and I'm gonna feel so, just frustrated because I'm gonna have to wait, right? That's exactly what's going to happen. I just know it is. So I'm preparing myself for that moment. But y'all, I'm so excited to read the next 2 chapters, because when we ended last week, we had Shilian having a sexual awakening. He kissed Hua Chong. Hua Chong was okay with it. Shilian's realizing things about his body and how he feels about Hua Chong, but he's more concerned about Hua Chong being embarrassed. And I'm like, Shilian. And Hua Chong's like, okay, we'll just take our time and be patient, like the damn saint supreme ghost that he is. And then meanwhile, we've stumbled back across Pei Ming and the Water Master, and we've discovered that the Wind Master and maybe the Earth Master, not sure on the verdict on that one, might be stuck in the prison layer of the Blackwater, and they're on the middle of this island. There's the reflection, like everything's invisible except the prison is reflected in the water, and there's monsters everywhere. It's just getting crazy, and we are halfway through the book. Oh my god. And so we're going to be looking at chapters 122 and 123 today. I know it's going to end on a cliffhanger, and I'm going to be so frustrated. So I don't have any comments because I'm watching ahead, but I have a feeling that y'all are going to make up for it in spades with the next 3 sets, because part 35, which is part 36 is about to come out on Patreon, and part 35 on YouTube. And so I'm basically going to have 3 parts worth of reactions to get comments from. So next week with part 39, there's probably going to be a lot of comments, and that's okay. So I'm going to have my computer with me. I just won't have any of my recording equipment, which is why I have to record early. So I'll have my computer, and I'm going to be checking comments throughout the week. I'll probably have a little bit of downtime to check comments. So I'll be reading everybody's comments and checking up on that and just getting notes ready for when I come back. But I couldn't wait, and I was like, I just want to go ahead and read it, and just that way let it simmer and soak and marinate while I'm gone. So, but yes, I'm really, really excited because I just want to know. I'm hoping that they get to the Wind Master. I'm hoping that they talk to them, figure out what's going on. I want to meet the Blackwater so badly. Maybe I'm going to regret that decision, but I want to meet the Blackwater, and I want to see him and Hua Chong interact. I have so many things I'm looking forward to. Pei Ming has grown on me like a fungus, and I'm just like, I am living for Pei Ming, trying to prove that Hua Chong and Shilian are in a relationship together, because why do you care, Pei Ming? But I know he has reasons. So yeah, I'm really excited, y'all. I'm very excited for these chapters, but I know that it's going to end on a cliffhanger, and I'm going to be shaking my fist at MXTX being like, why is this entire volume just a series of cliffhangers? What are you doing? And that we're just going to deal with that. So, but I'm really excited, y'all. I hope you all are too. But considering I have no comments, we are not going to waste any more time diving into this reaction. So let's just do it, shall we? We are going to start chapters 122 and 123 of Heaven Official's Blessing, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's do this. The shadowy figure appeared soundlessly behind both him and Hua Chong. Chapter 122, The Netherwater Manor, Black Robes, White Bones. Ooh! What if the Blackwater's like a skeleton? That would be like kind of crazy, because it's a ghost, so could very well be, right? We have ghosts like skeletons carrying, the step litter around. Yet on the shore, there was not a single soul behind them, right, because it's invisible. Shilian had carried function. I forget Shilian has had a sword on his back the entire time. I forget that. And the moment he saw the reflection, he immediately swung the sword back. The black shadow was clearly stabbed, Yet it felt like a ball of waves was stabbed instead. Ooh, I like the monsters are like water. And it broke up into a series of ripples before it disappeared on the spot. Hua Chong also raised his brows slightly, glancing in the direction of where that black shadow disappeared and knitted his brows. Soon after, more and more shadowy figures appeared in the water reflection, their blanched faces and pale hands the only things eye-catching in the blackened night. Shilian unsheathed his sword and swept, shouting, "General Pei! Go to the waters and look at the reflection! The reflection of the water can reveal those creatures!" If they weren't in a demon lair, those little ghosts wouldn't be able to come near a heavenly official at all. Pei Ming wasn't able to see the enemy earlier, yet now he could observe through the water, and he watched the reflection and easily took care of the crowd of ghosts surrounding him with but 2 swings of his swords. Okay, gonna establish that Pei Ming is pretty strong, because if he can take care of it with 2 swings of his swords, granted, Shilian has had his spiritual energy like totally tapped out. So, but that's interesting to kind of establish where Pei Ming is power-wise. Shi Wudu also finally noticed the strange reflections, and he knelt by the water, shouting to the lake with his head down. "Xing Shang, are you there? Why aren't you battling the monsters? Suspicious! Suspicious!" That water was black. That iron prison was also black, and it melded into one. Hard to make out details. Only that one hand was white. Suddenly a face appeared between the iron bars, and it was Xing Shang. He didn't seem to be able to see Shi Wudu outside the iron prison. "Oh, come on! That is so suspicious!" And his expression was one of chilling terror. His 2 hands clutched the iron bars, desperately trying to squeeze his head out, looking like he was crying out for help, yet not a single sound passed through. He didn't yell for very long before suddenly several shriveled, decaying hands grabbed his head and pulled at his face and his neck and shoulders and yanked him down. Seeing this, Shi Wudu cursed and was about to jump right into the water when Pei Ming pulled him back. "Master Waterzhong, you can't! Can't you tell this is a trap? You can't manipulate the waters of the South Sea, and as a water god, if you enter someone else's water territory, aren't you just asking to be butchered?" Yeah, shouldn't you know this? You're like the 3rd strongest heavenly official. But maybe his brother being in danger has clouded his judgment, but it's suspicious. Shi Wudu patted his shoulder and only said this, "Then help me guard the outside." Then he shoved him away and leapt into the black water lake. What? The moment he entered the waters, he sank right down. Pei Ming called out, "Master Waterzhong!" But he couldn't follow because he knew that this lake was most likely a boundary. Much like the mechanism set up in ancient graves, outsiders could only open the tomb gates and intrude. Once inside, the doors would close automatically and would not open from the inside, leaving the intruders to die trapped within. It would be hard not to assume that this boundary had a similar mechanism. Shilian called out, "General Pei, don't go in! There's a corpse right by your feet. Hurry back to the beach and build a coffin to prepare for evacuation. I'll go in." "Shilian, Your Highness, will you be all right?" Pei Ming asked. "Your spiritual powers are cut down coming to this place, so we're equals now. I'm more experienced than you in fighting with bare fists." Pei Ming then glanced at Hua Chong standing next to Shilian and recalled that he could float on the water surface, so the 2 of them were much more useful than he would be here. Without further ado, he picked up a corpse of that little ghost and rushed out into the woods. Shilian turned to face Hua Chong. "Sun Long, will you lend me a little spiritual power again? Just a little bit is enough." Without a word, Hua Chong gave the small of his back a gentle pat. When Shilian swung function down again, a giant pillar-like white light flashed, and every little ghost on the scene was killed by the strike. Just a little pat. Shilian was speechless for a moment and instantly sheathed the sword. "I'm off." So he left Pei Ming and Hua Chong to get in the coffin? Oh, that coffin's gonna be the size of a mansion. There ain't no way they're gonna touch each other. Or maybe Pei Ming's gonna use the little ghost, like, to keep afloat. Oh, man. The 2 jumped. Okay. So Shilian and... Shilian and Hua Chong went into the water together. Okay, so Pei Ming took the little ghost, and that's how he was gonna float in the coffin. Okay, that makes 1,000 times more sense. But also, it seems like a trap. It seems like Shi Wudu is luring them down there. Suspicious! The 2 jumped into the water at the same time. However, at the bottom of the Blackwater Lake, other than the abnormally cold water, lake water, there wasn't anything strange. This water was also different than the ship-sinking waters of the Blackwater Demon Lair. One could float, not unlike a normal lake. Shilian was puzzled and swam downwards directly. Oh, okay. So the Watermaster instantly sank, but Shilian could float? What? It didn't take long for him to reach the bottom, but there wasn't any strange mechanism to be seen, and he didn't see the Lord Windmaster or the Lord Watermaster either. He knitted his brows and mused for a moment before he swam back up. Moments later, Shelian broke through the surface and sucked in a few breaths, wiping wetness off of his face. It was only then they realized the landscape upon the shore had transformed. Ah, so it's like the upside down. It just, like, once he came back up, then everything was as it originally was. Next to the Blackwater Lake, there stood an iron prison, and it was the exact same one that reflected in the waters earlier. However, other than the prison, everything else on the lake shore was exactly the same. It was also overly quiet, adding to the hauntingness of the place. Shiwood had already climbed ashore and was smashing the giant lock on that iron prison with a giant boulder. He was the heavenly official who controlled water. Now they entered the domain of another that could control water. He had lost the ability to manipulate it. He was like a beast with fangs and claws removed. When Shelian and Huachong climbed ashore, the moment Shiwudu saw Shelian, his eyes lifted up and he raised his hand. A martial god! Thank God! Quick, use your martial god ways to take care of this! Will everyone now understand the benefits of having a martial god around? Shelian's like, I've been looked down upon for quite some time, sir. Shelian thought internally. He silently approached and gave the lock a kick, cracking it soundly. Another kick and the iron prison gates opened. Shiwudu rushed to go in and cried, Ching! Before he could even charge in, a crowd came rushing out instead, wailing and howling. Oh! Those people were all disheveled and unkempt, emaciated and gaunt, their eyes blank, their ragged clothes covering nothing, revealing a row of ribs. They were so filthy it was like they hadn't bathed in over 10 years. Their hands were swinging and randomly grabbing, pounding at their own chests and stopping in their steps. They roared and cried incoherently, exceedingly horrifying. They streamed out like a wave of polluted waters, leaving Shiwudu petrified in shock. However, they were only trying to escape. They didn't stick around to harass, and so even if Shiwudu was momentarily stunned, he didn't care for them and continued to charge into the building. That's interesting. The Blackwater didn't eat them like Qirong. He just had them prisoner. Interesting. Ching! Before he could even make it a few steps, he staggered in a step and almost fell. That ground was extremely slippery. There was also a rotten stench emanating from within the iron prison that was hard to describe. Even Shelian, who was still outside, could smell it, and he held his breath. Shiwudu thus covered his nose and mouth with his sleeve and continued to charge in, finally able to yell the full name, Ching Shong! It was pitch black within the prison, and all around them was muffled sobbing and strange murmured chanting and chattering. Moments later, a weak voice came, Gay. Sure enough, Shi Qingshang was sitting brokenly in the deepest part of the iron prison, leaning against a wall. On the wall was that soul-tall window of the iron prison, and the moonlight leaking through the window illuminated his person, making him look white as a sheet. He was surrounded by a number of filthy creatures. Some had rotten sores covering their entire bodies, and some were imitating the cries of a pig. Some were pecking grain as if they were chickens, and some were hugging Shi Qingshang, wailing and calling him baby, all of them insane. Shi Qingshang had once been an esteemed heavenly official and had never once been in such a state. Shiwudu immediately went up and shot out a blast. Get lost! What kind of ghosts are these? He and Shi Qingshang resembled each other, yet their auras were completely different. Although his spiritual powers were cut right down, his might was even more domineering, and those madmen scrambled away in fear. Shelian couldn't help but feel sympathy, and Shi Qingshang also chided, Gay, don't fight, they're not little ghosts. They're all live people. Sure enough, although each of these figures looked more demonic than demons, when inspected closely, they were all in fact humans. Shelian couldn't help but be taken aback. Why would the Blackwater Demon John lock up a bunch of people here? He wondered. Shiwudu, however, didn't care for them at all. He held up the longevity locket in one hand, and the other grabbed hold of Shi Qingshang's arm. How did you come here? Where are you hurt? Shi Qingshang really was quite dirty, but other than a scratch on his leg that was bleeding a bit, there didn't seem to be much else. I don't know how we got here. A wave surged and knocked us out, and when we came to, we were already here. This is just a small scratch. It's nothing serious. Mingzhang's injuries are more severe. Only then did the others realize that Ming Yi was lying on the ground nearby, looking ashen, but not ashen from displeasure. Patches of purple and blue covered his face. Shelian asked, what happened to the Lord Earthmaster? It seemed he was bitten by those creatures in the sea. Those skeleton fish have green moss in their teeth and bones. They're all poisonous. I gave him all the medicine I had on me, but... Shelian squatted down and looked him over carefully, but he almost fainted from the disgusting stench of the place. Looking around, there were some wooden buckets placed about, and those buckets were filled with swill, emanating an astringent and musty smell. There was the rotten stink of sores and blood, and the horrifying stench of chamber pots that hadn't been emptied for months. Oh my god, yeah. Nope. Nope. She Wudu couldn't tolerate it any longer. Such a disgusting hobby. It seems this ship-sinking Blackwater doesn't have any sense of class either. Xingchong, let's go. He pulled Xingchong up and started dragging him out, but the Windmaster spoke up. I'm fine, no need to assist me. Then he went to carry Mingyi before slowly moving out of the iron prison. However, it was easier to come than go. The boundary passage in the Blackwater Lake was already sealed shut. They entered the waters a few times and emerged to the surface, but the scenery never changed, proving they were truly kept within the boundary of the Blackwater Lake, unable to leave. Where's General Pei? I made Peizhong stay outside. He should be able to think of a way in, Shiwudu replied. I told General Pei to go build a coffin boat so the moment we got out we could evacuate. If he's completed the coffin boat, then it's also fine if he goes back to report first before coming back for us. However, Mingyi was wounded. While they weren't sure how powerful the poison was, it was still better to leave as soon as possible, so they might not be able to wait that long. After some contemplation, Shilian said, this Blackwater demon Jean might live in seclusion out here in the sea, but there's no way he'd never leave. Surely he wouldn't have to cross an entire Blackwater demon layer every time he wants to go out. You're very right, Shiwudu said. There must be a place on this island where one can cast a distance shortening array. Shiwudu didn't particularly care for Shilian at first, but now that they were shouldering hardships together, and Shilian saved the Windmaster time and time again, naturally he now looked at him differently, and he agreed without any grousing. Just then Mingyi slightly raised a hand, and the Windmaster asked, Mingzhong, what do you want to say? Looking like he was trying to save strength, Mingyi didn't speak, and only raised that hand higher. The others looked to the direction of the raised hand and saw in the deep of the forest there stood a black, gloomy building. Mingyi dropped his hand and croaked, that place. What's it for, do you know? No, Shilian said. We didn't see it on the way here. Shiwudu squinted. That must be the Netherwater Manor of the Blackwater Demon Jean. In rumors, the residence of the Blackwater Demon Jean was called the Netherwater Manor. Making the decision, Shiwudu said, let's go. He actually started walking towards the manor without any fear of retribution. Although it seemed tactlessly rude, under the current circumstances, what other choice did they have? If it could be said that they were spinning about in someone else's backyard earlier, then now they were about to go break into someone else's front doors. Shilian whispered to Huachong, San Long, if this is awkward for you, you don't need to come in. However, Huachong also looked somber and said, quicken your pace, Gege. Leave here as soon as possible. Shilian nodded and stopped speaking. However, he could faintly tell that Huachong seemed to be uneasy. It wasn't about the master of this land, but something else. Yeah, I'm suspicious too! I'm suspicious too! He'd always thought there was something off. He thought of all the little questions that had been piling up for a while now, and they were making him feel anxious. Soon the group crossed through the forest, disregarding the band of insane madmen running about. I just like that there's just chaos everywhere, and came before the haunting black building. It was then they realized that this Netherwater Manor was in fact a large palace. Its build and make were very similar to the exquisite Windmaster Palace and Watermaster Palace. Oh, I'm not liking this! I'm not liking where this is headed! Nope! Suspicious red flag! The palace doors were tightly shut, and after the group of them hiked up the countless steps and stood before the gates, Shilian knocked on the doors and called out brightly, pardon the intrusion, we have, by accident, offended bluntly. We deeply apologize. How could you not forgive Shilian for that? No one answered. Shilian steadied his mind and slowly pushed open the palace doors. Based on Shilian's years of experience, even if there was something inside, it wouldn't come out and greet them the moment the doors opened. Yet, he had to eat his own words. Upon first look, there was something petrifying. In the grand, spacious center of the entrance hall sat a person. And this person, dressed in all black, its face snow white, was a corpse. Instantly, Shilian shut the door soundly. He thought, did I maybe open the doors incorrectly? Something like that shouldn't show itself so fast. He wanted to try greeting again and start over, but Shiwudu had already walked past him and pushed the doors open, humping. We've already come, so what does it matter if it doesn't welcome us? The group slowly stepped up into the palace and stealthily approached the skeleton dressed in black. Shilian examined it carefully and wondered, who does this corpse belong to? Why is it being worshipped here? Ming Yi knitted his brows. Wasn't General Pei left behind? It can't be him. That really could be a possibility. Shi Wudu was slightly stunned and looked over it a few more times before he could refute. It shouldn't be. The body shape of this set of bones is flatter than General Pei. Also, some bones are smaller than others. Suddenly, the Windmaster said, wait. The group looked at him and the Windmaster said, isn't the answer obvious? This is the Nether Water Manor. The only one that could be worshipped in the Nether Water Manor is naturally. Shilian understood what he wanted to say. The Blackwater Demon Jean. Oh! Chapter 123, the Nether Water Manor, black robes, white bones, too. Then he dismissed the idea. That's not possible. Cliffhangers of XTX. Shilian glanced in Hua Chong's direction. Ashes are the life source of those in the ghost realm. It's their fatal weakness. How can something so important be so easily displayed out in the open? This fact was something Hua Chong told himself when they first met. For some reason, he said it so matter-of-factly, yet in his mind he remembered the other things Hua Chong had also said regarding ashes. Hua Chong was watching him intently, and Shilian lost himself for a moment. Of course. Then he immediately turned his head and cleared his throat softly. Then whose bones could this belong to? The Windmaster wondered. The group of them surrounded the haunting skeleton and started examining it. Shilian spoke up. Well, first, it's a man. We see that, the group said. Shilian continued. Second, this man's hands and feet should be fairly dexterous, especially his fingers. He should have practiced some sort of martial art, but his skills might not be strong. For the majority of exceptional martial arts trained in a pure body, the bone structure shouldn't be like this. Shi Wudu, however, only swept his eyes over the corpse a couple times before turning away. As long as this thing won't stand in our way, it doesn't matter who he is. Lord Earthmaster, where do you think we can cast the distance shortening? However, before he finished his sentence, the skeleton suddenly raised its head and lunged at him without warning. Fortunately, Shilian reacted swiftly and chopped it down with his hand, and the skeleton fell into the ground to a heap of broken bones. Gay! The Windmaster exclaimed. In the group of 5, Hua Chong would never give a helping hand to protect anyone else, and Shilian, being the only martial god, suddenly appeared extremely important. Although Shi Wudu was attacked, he still remained calm and had only backed up one step. What's with this skeleton? Does it still have lingering souls possessing it? Shilian squatted down and turned over the bones. Studying the pile, he shook his head. That's weird. What's weird? Shi Wudu asked. Shilian rose to his feet. This skeleton doesn't have a single piece of its soul left. Otherwise, when we came close earlier, we would have noticed odd movements. If that's the case, then how can it still savagely rise and harm so suddenly? Shi Wudu asked. Humming for a moment, Shilian answered, I think it's terminal lucidity. Shi Qingshang was puzzled. Terminal lucidity? Doesn't that only happen to the living? I mean, those on the verge of death still counts as the living. The dead are the same, Shilian explained. For example, the 7th day is also a form of terminal lucidity, when the soul of the deceased returned to greet family. In fact, it's the same for anything. I think Lord Watermaster must have provoked it earlier, which is why it suddenly gathered the last of its strength and made such a move. The 7th day is a common folk belief that spirits of the dead return home on the 7th day following their death. Because it made sense, Shi Wudu was valuing his words more and more. Then, according to your highness, what was the provocation? It was something you said or something on you, Shilian said. What did I say? Shi Wudu wondered. Ming Yi blew out a breath. As long as that thing won't stand in our way, it doesn't matter who he is. The Windmaster scratched his head, puzzled. Was there something wrong with that? Could this good brother have had a bad temper? Is this Scholar Hua? Is it his skeleton? I don't know. Shi Qingchang, was there something wrong with that? Could this good brother have a bad temper? Nothing conclusive could come from further discussion, so Shilian said, either way, the souls have dispersed, so let it go. He then picked up the bones and placed them upon the altar anew, clapping his hands in prayer and bowing a few times. The Windmaster came over too and randomly bowed a couple times. The 5 of them then wandered about the Nether Water Manor. They're just walking around his home. No big deal. Sup, Blackwater? How's it going? There wasn't anyone there, so it seemed that the legendary Blackwater Demon Jean wasn't home. The framework of the Water Manor was complex. There were many big and small side chambers within, and there was one that was particularly hidden and narrow. Its doors had strange spells drawn upon them, and the very leftover trace of having the distance-shortening array cast. It seemed that this Blackwater Island, there was indeed a place that the distance shortening array could be used, and that place was this tiny side chamber. To set a chamber specifically as a connection point, the amount of spiritual power required would be much less than if one was to draw a completely new array. Since they didn't have much spiritual power at their disposal, this was perfect. Ming Yi was the expert, and with just a glance he stated, "This array only allows for one direction," which means it can only send forth. One cannot be sent here from elsewhere, correct? So the spiritual powers needed can be further cut down. "Isn't that exactly what we need?" the Windmaster said. "We only need to leave. This is great. Let's get out of here. Don't let the Blackwater Master discover us." Then, with Ming Yi in one arm, he was about to push open the doors with the other hand when Ming Yi shouted sharply, "Stop! There's a trap!" Hearing this, the Windmaster stumbled back 3 feet. "What trap?" Ming Yi was also dragged back 3 feet along with him and was speechless for a moment. Then he gestured for the Windmaster to assist him again, and they went back to the door. Ming Yi looked over the spells on the door and for a while and stated firmly, "It's a trap. Arrays drawn in this chamber at most can only send one person away at a time." "That's a thing?" the Windmaster explained. "Then what happens if 2 people are sent together?" Ming Yi answered coldly, "When they reach their destination, you'll find that they have been crushed into one person." Among those present, only Ming Yi was the expert when it came to this. The rest of the group consisted of one water god, one wind god, one martial god, none of them particularly knowledgeable in this area. Shilian's first reaction was to look at Hua Chong. Seeing that he was only watching that array with a dark look but didn't voice any objections, it seemed that Ming Yi wasn't lying. Shilian hummed, "If that's really the case, then should ignorant intruders try to use this array to escape, they'd have an atrocious end. No wonder it's a trap." Just then there was a rumbling in the skies outside. Twisted lightning crawled across the gloomy clouds, flashing white and blue upon their faces inside the Netherwater Manor, making them appear like 5 menacing ghosts. The group all looked at each other. The Windmaster said, "Gay, it's another." Shiwudu's face was dropping and he didn't respond. However, everyone knew that this was his heavenly calamity in pursuit of him again. Pei Ming's casual words faintly echoed in Shilian's mind again. "Watermaster Zhang, you're really unlucky this time." "Since we can use the distance shortening array, let's hurry and get out of here," the Windmaster urged. "If heavenly lightning was to strike here and destroy the Water Manor, then this would surely cause great animosity. To dismantle a heavenly official's temple was to destroy their brand. It would build deep hatred. Although it was unclear whether the Ghost Realm held the same taboo, no one would want to leave their house demolished for no reason." "Then Lord Earthmaster, you must go first. You're wounded," Shilian said. However, Ming Yi shook his head. "The array will need to be redrawn after every use. None of you know how to draw it, so I have to stay behind and repair the array." "Then Mingzhang, I'll stay with you and go second last," the Windmaster said. "What are you saying?" Shiwudu said. Even if you stay, you'd be of no use. Leave now and go to the EC." However, the Windmaster countered, "Everyone is about equally useless right now, so it doesn't matter. This whole thing has nothing to do with Mingzhang, but he had to suffer like this. I feel really bad." "We're all being sent to the same location anyway. It won't take long, so what are you afraid of?" Shiwudu said. If this was before, Shiwudu had only needed to say a few words and the Windmaster would listen, yet things weren't the same now. And the Windmaster wasn't listening, asking instead, "If we left first, what about General Pei? Wouldn't he be left behind?" Shiwudu also noticed that his younger brother wasn't as obedient anymore, and his expression grew complicated. A moment later he replied, "It's fine. Pei Zhang's stubbornly resilient. He can hang on until we get reinforcements from heaven." Shilian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although his instincts told him the Watermaster wasn't wrong and didn't mean any harm, he suddenly felt pity for Pei Ming. He's just getting left behind. After a pause, he said, "Wait." The group looked at him. Shilian said, "Lord Earthmaster, are you sure this chamber can really start up the distance shortening array? Won't there be any issues? I don't think it's wise to just use it carelessly. Why not test it first?" Ming Yi's hand really did stop. "How? If we must test it, we'll still need a volunteer." The Windmaster raised his hand, "Then I volunteer." Hua Chong hadn't spoken through this entire conversation, but now he crossed his arms and said, "I'm sorry to interrupt. Have you all never thought of a certain problem?" "And what esteemed opinion does my lord have?" Ming Yi asked. "How would you know if the volunteer had reached the predetermined destination?" Hua Chong pointed out. Shilian blinked. "Oh, that's right. The Earthmaster did say this array only goes in one direction." Which meant, once sent out, that person would not be able to return and let the others know whether they'd reached the destination safely. Where they are now was also isolated from the outside world. The spiritual communication array was also blocked, so it seemed they'd come to a dead end. It seemed they'd forgotten that fact. They'd all forgotten that fact just now. Hua Chong concluded, so it's completely meaningless to keep discussing this issue. It's just one word. Go or leave. End this swiftly. Scared? Then stay behind. Although he was smiling, Shi Lian could sense that Hua Chong was slightly restless, as if he wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. This restlessness had been around ever since they were brought back to Shi Wudu's water dragons. Brought back by Shi Wudu's water dragons. Okay, so they are his water dragons. Okay. And it was only getting worse. Shi Wudu didn't want to wait anymore either. That heavenly thunder was exploding next to his ears, and if he didn't leave, it would strike sooner than later. No one would have a good time. Thus, he charged in his side chamber and slammed the door. Mingyi immediately completed the array. When the door was opened once more, faint smoke wafted from the inside, but it was empty within. Done! Next! Then, Your Highness, before he could finish, Mingyi had already grabbed him and stuffed him inside, closing the door, completing the array. The second time the door opened, Mingyi looked at the remaining two. Shi Lian spoke up. San Long, why don't you go first? However, Hua Chong pulled him along and said darkly, Gege, we go together. Shi Lian was taken aback. But this array only allows for one at a time. I'm not alive, don't worry. He just wants to be together as Shi Lian. He wants to get smashed together as Shi Lian. Ah! Shi Lian still felt rather concerned for some reason, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Hua Chong brought him to the door and said to Mingyi outside, Puqi Shrine. Mingyi nodded silently. That said door slowly closed before Shi Lian. Through the closing crack, he glanced at Mingyi's dark expression. He wondered in spite of himself, can the Lord Earthmaster really hold on? Hua Chong closed the door with his own hand and waited for a moment, then reopened it. What appeared before the two was the interior of the Puqi Shrine. It was the middle of the night. Qirong was sleeping sprawled out like he had died a violent death, and he'd hogged all the blankets, his snores roaring to the skies. Guzi used to have a good sleeping form, but perhaps with his cheap dad's bad influence, he was now also spread out on top of Qirong's stomach like a dead fish. Long Ying himself was curled neatly in the corner and was covered by a few shirts. Shi Lian lifted the blanket covering Qirong and suppressed the urge to smother his face! And then covered the two small children! Oh, what a shady bitch! Oh my god, Shi Lian! Shi Lian! I just love the gentle... Din, 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 din. So, we're back? He whispered. Hua Chong closed the door behind him, and it's over. Not yet, I don't think. We don't know if the Lord Windmaster and the others have returned yet. He lightly pushed the door open and only raised his voice once he was outside the shrine, calling the spiritual communication array that was temporarily set up before. Lord Earthmaster, are you all back? There was no response. Thinking that Mingyi might not have acted that quick, Shi Lian entered the communication array of the heavenly court. He wouldn't have known had he not entered, but once he had, he jumped in surprise. It was complete chaos inside. Every heavenly official was yelling, and even Ling Wen was throwing a fit. Don't throw every bit of useless information my way. How much do you think I have to go through every day? Don't you know how to use all your brains a little before asking me? Ling Wen, Shi Lian called out hastily, have Lord Watermaster and the others not returned? As if she changed into a completely different person, Ling Wen instantly caught a hold of him. Your Highness! Why is your voice suddenly so loud? Have you returned from the East Sea? Where did Lord Watermaster and General Pei go? How come there's been no communication? I came back from the South Sea, Shi Lian said. The South Sea! The South Sea, the Black Water Demon Lair. Ling Wen was dumbfounded. But how did you all end up over there? We never touched that place. Our old Pei and the others there too. It's a long story, Shi Lian said. Lord Watermaster was fighting the trial and accidentally entered the Blackwater Demon Lair. We finally escaped. He and Lord Windmaster returned before I did, so they should have reached the East Sea by now. Did you not see them? No, Ling Wen said. The East Sea calmed down a long time ago. And those 200-something fishermen have all been rescued, but there's no trace of them on the shores or in the sea. How can that be? Shi Lian exclaimed. Unless what? Ling Wen asked anxiously, Unless what? Your Highness, do you still have something to say? Should we send heavenly officials to the South Sea right now? It's too late. He shut down the communication array and whipped around. San Long. Hua Chong seemed to already expect what he was going to ask. He was silent with his hands clenched at his side, watching him solemnly. Did you and that person reach an agreement a long time ago? Shilian asked. Huachong didn't immediately respond. Just as he moved his lips, Shilian asked quickly, said, No, don't tell me. You don't have to answer me. If you had long since reached an agreement with someone else, I certainly wouldn't want you to become someone who'd go back on their word because of me. It's my fault for asking you so suddenly. I didn't mean to put you in a difficult situation. I'm sorry, Your Highness, Huachong said. Shilian shook his head. Don't apologize. I should have figured this out a long time ago. It must have been due to some sort of agreement that you couldn't interfere and you couldn't tell me the truth directly. It wasn't like Huachong hadn't tried to stop him, but he didn't obstruct Shilian's desires either. He only accompanied him on the trip, protecting him the whole way, even with a plan to break away already prepared. Only there was always something that dragged Shilian deeper into the heart of the affair. I should be thanking you instead, Shilian said. You figured everything out? Huachong asked. Pretty much. In fact, I should have figured it out a long time ago. But he really is incredible. I'd often think too much, too, dismissing my own suspicions, and always end up overlooking the most straightforward possibilities. After a pause, he continued, And that person really gave you a lot of face. To peacefully send me away, he put in considerable effort and wasted much time detouring. Your Highness, Huachong said, this whole thing ends here. It's over. Shilian sighed. I only wish that was the case, but he might have crossed the line. After some silence, Huachong said gently, But you've come back, and there's no way for you to return to the demon lair. Let them take care of their own affairs now. Oh my God. Don't be so sure, Shilian said. Hearing this, Huachong froze. I suddenly thought of an idea just now. A way to connect with the Lord Windmaster, Shilian said. He raised his hands and started forming a hand seal. I'm so sorry, Shanlong, but I have to go back for a bit. Seeing the hand seal, Huachong instantly understood. Clearly, he hadn't expected this move, and his eyes widened. Gege! Shilian enunciated clearly. Soul-shifting spell! Oh my God! Oh my God! After closing his eyes, a familiar weightless sensation invaded. Like his soul was pulled out and whipped into the air before plunging. When he opened his eyes again, what was before him wasn't Huachong's face either, but an endless black night and mountainous woods speedily backing away on either side. Shilian could hear harsh breathing coming from his own mouth and his violent heartbeats. Success! The soul-shifting spell wasn't used often and burned an abundance of spiritual power. It was stronger than spiritual communication and also more wicked and rare, so spiritual barriers generally wouldn't include the spell in their blockage. Oh my God. That day, he and the Windmaster had used the soul-shifting spell. Since then, the Windmaster hadn't had time to seal his spiritual consciousness before he lost his powers and turned into a mortal. This was like the two had exchanged the keys to each other's houses and made use of each other's home. After switching back, the Windmaster should have immediately changed the locks on the door so Shilian wouldn't be able to re-enter, but he didn't. So Shilian could still use the key from before and open the Windmaster's door. Only the Windmaster could no longer open Shilian's door. Thus, the two were now using the same body. Shilian's body should have gone limp and collapsed. Maybe Huachong caught him. Shilian was breathless. Or the Windmaster was breathless as he ran, terrified as if something was chasing him and he was fleeing. Shilian listened intently. So he's like inside his soul? And against the wind, a series of howls and wails came from behind. It was like a band of madmen that had been locked up in the iron prison. They seemed to really like the Windmaster. Rather, it should be described as they yearned for. They pursued relentlessly, with their eyes rolled back and their tongues out. The Windmaster's ribs and lungs were burning, wanting to cry out, but he had no tears, wanting to scream, but he had no voice. Shilian could sense the way he ran was without method, and if it continued, he wouldn't last long. He took over control of the body directly. Lord Windmaster! He was using the Windmaster's mouth to speak, and the Windmaster was so surprised he almost bit his tongue. Who's in my body? My lord, calm down, Shilian said. I've come back to find you using the soul-shifting spell. Give me the body and I'll help you run. Shilian felt the corners of the Windmaster's eyes streaming 2 lines of hot tears. Your Highness, what a comfort. You're so reliable. Thank you. No need for thanks. Shilian said, Listen to me, Lord Windmaster, run away. Am I not running now? The Windmaster exclaimed. I don't mean like this. I mean, you need to escape. Just as he spoke, several insane, filthy maniacs jumped out of the woods next to them and lunged at the Windmaster all at once. Shilian cracked his knuckles and he leapt, giving them 30 rounds of power kicks, knocking those lunatics onto the ground, unable to rise. The Windmaster was shocked, his eyes wide. Did I do that? That's amazing. Martial gods are so awesome. I want to be a martial god too now. Shi Lian, however, killed his joy earnestly. My lord, you can't. Your body isn't cut out for becoming a martial god. The two conversed using the same body as if it was one person asking and answering their own questions. From another's perspective, it was truly bizarre. Lord Windmaster, where's Lord Watermaster? Shi Lian asked. The Windmaster scanned around and said, I don't know where Mingzhong or my brother went. Earlier when I opened the door, I found that I was still at the Nether Water Manor. I was only sent to a different chamber. I don't know where things went wrong. Suddenly, Shi Lian tipped his foot and leapt up, flying into a tree. Xing Qingchong didn't understand why, but having his body lift and move so freely was a curious feeling. He allowed Shi Lian to control his body as he willed, lightly and skillfully climbing atop a tree branch. Your Highness, why did you so suddenly? Before he finished his sentence, Shi Lian covered his own mouth. Actually, it was also his own mouth. Shi Lian quickly climbed to the tip of the branch and sat, hiding within the dense leaves. Soon after, a slender shadow stumbled into view at the end of the road. Looking closely, it was Ming Yi. His face still looked ashen, adding an air of gloom to his handsomeness. But he could still somewhat walk. The Windmaster was overjoyed and dropped his hands, ready to call out to him, when Shi Lian raised his hands again and covered his mouth. This time he used both hands, smothering so firmly he could hardly breathe. The Windmaster wasn't someone rash and knew that Shi Lian must have acted for a reason, so he stopped struggling. He watched as Ming Yi walked past them down the little path before Shi Lian loosened his hands slightly and stealthily slipped off the tree, sneaking into the thick woods. Having dashed for a while, the Windmaster looked back and whispered, Your Highness, why didn't you let me call out to Mingzhong earlier? Shi Lian didn't respond, but his body suddenly froze. The Windmaster turned his head back and his pupils shrank violently. Ming Yi, who had clearly been long gone, was standing right in front of them, or rather them. Ming Yi seemed to be supporting himself up with an arm on a tree, and he frowned. Why are you here too? Shi Lian did not. Shi Lian didn't say a word, but moved a hand behind his back and waved, gesturing for him to absolutely not give anything away that there's a third person present. The Windmaster understood, but Ming Yi's brows seemed knitted. What's your hand doing behind your back? Are you hiding something? The Windmaster immediately flipped open both hands to show him, saying, No! Shi Lian could feel his blood run cold and his knees go weak. It seemed that although Ming Yi was also very dependable in the Windmaster's mind, this sudden appearance also gave him quite the fright. Ming Yi looked bewildered. I didn't mean for you to actually show me. Although his expression was one of disgust, it was nevertheless something familiar, so the Windmaster sighed a breath of relief. The goosebumps that had popped up on half his body slowly fading away. While Shi Lian was hugely anxious, he didn't dare speak rashly right this moment. Where's the Lord Watermaster? You haven't seen my brother either? The Windmaster asked. I'm almost looking for him everywhere. Didn't you say he could send us out of the Blackwater Island? How come His Highness went back, but we're still here? Shi Lian listened and grew even more apprehensive. Although he did his best to suppress the... There was no doubt that would no doubt appear when the Windmaster was overly nervous. To speak so calmly wasn't like the Windmaster either. Thus he pulled his hair wildly and pointed at Ming Yi, yelling, Mingzhong, didn't I tell you to practice more when you got the time? You didn't draw wrong because you're rusty, did you? Although slightly exaggerated, it was pretty effective. Sure enough, Ming Yi didn't notice anything amiss and his face dropped. Get lost, draw it yourself if you've got the skills. Although that's what he said, he still walked over. The Windmaster was still frozen on the spot, so Shi Lian quickly moved forward, grabbing Ming Yi's shoulders. Mingzhong, how are your injuries? The poison isn't manifesting further, is it? Ming Yi shook his head. It's fine. Let's find the Lord Watermaster first. The Windmaster nodded, and the two slowly made their way. Shi Lian couldn't find any chance to warn him, feeling more distressed and uptight with each step. Suddenly he felt his mouth open slightly, and it was the Windmaster who soundlessly was moving his lips. Shi Lian immediately became spirited and carefully discerned the shapes he was forming. He had just said, what exactly is going on? Shi Lian was afraid Ming Yi, who was close by, would notice. He lowered his head slightly and responded with a simple lip movement too. He's fake. The moment the words left his lips, Shi Lian could feel a layer of goosebumps popping up on his arms. The Windmaster's eyes bulged and he asked with lips, fake? Then who is he? The Reverend of Empty Words. The Windmaster sucked in a breath and Ming Yi's voice came from overhead. What is it? The Windmaster sucked in all the breath and exhaled, his voice trembling. I'm scared. After a moment of silence, Ming Yi said, it's too early to be scared now. If this was before, then his words would no doubt be interpreted as a twisted form of comfort. However, right now, it reeked of unspeakable chill, like it was some sort of threat. The Windmaster lowered his head and lipped to Shelian. No way, the Reverend of Empty Words can't shapeshift. Truthfully, when the words left Shelian's mouth, he also felt the Reverend of Empty Words wasn't quite appropriate. Rather, it was too disrespectful, too impertinent. A few days ago, the Reverend of Empty Words the Windmaster bumped into was no more than a minion or a pathetic clone or some leftover crumbs. Thus, he gave a second answer, the Blackwater Demon Jean. The Windmaster tripped. What's with you now? Ming-Yi demanded. I want to die! The Windmaster's teeth were chattering. The Ming-Yi responded coldly, dream on. That again. That same frosty tone of voice, with those equally icy, cruel words. It was no different from before, yet now they took on a completely different meaning. However, this was far from over. Shelian soundlessly gave a third name. Sean. The Blackwater Demon John is Scholar Huh. Okay. Okay, right? Mm-hmm. The Windmaster seemed to not be able to take it anymore. His heart was beating like drums, and Shelian noticed too. Coincidentally, they were just crossing a small creek, making the decision on the spot. He said, Ming-Zhong, I think you best rest a bit before we continue our search. What time do we have to rest now? Ming-Yi said. You're poisoned. The more you move, the more the poison will fester. And even if you won't rest, a mortal like myself has got to rest. Sit down. I'll go get you some water. Thus, keeping his hands and feet steady without revealing any shivers, he made Ming-Yi sit down on the grass. He himself went by the creek, borrowing the sounds of the current to speak with a low voice. The Windmaster cupped a palm of water and splashed it onto his own face, calming down. Then he whispered, Your Highness, what are you saying? Just who is the person behind me? Did one of the three shapeshift into Ming-Zhong, or did they all possess Ming-Zhong? Lord Windmaster, calm down. Shelian said, It's not them, it's him. The one next to you right now is only one person. From the very, very beginning, it's always been the one person. No one shapeshift. No one was possessed. But Ming-Zhong, he don't call him Ming-Zhong anymore. The real Ming-Zhong is already dead. How do you know? Did you see? I wasn't the only one who saw. You saw it too. The real Earthmaster was a skeleton worshipped inside the Netherwater Manor. Why do you think he could control the Earthmaster Crescent Moon Shovel well? Because it didn't belong to him in the first place. The one behind you, several hundreds of years ago, his original name was Sean. He cultivated it into a supreme, and he changed his name to the Blackwater Demon John. He devoured the Reverend of Empty Words and sent that creature to find you. He imprisoned and murdered the real Earthmaster and took his name, assuming his position in the heavens. Just as the words left his lips, his entire person suddenly froze. A hand slapped on his shoulder without warning. Oh my God! No! 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 Oh my God. Oh my God. So BEEFLEAF, huh? I'm reeling. Oh, no. My heart has sunk to the bottom of my stomach. I was so suspicious of the Watermaster. I was so suspicious of the Watermaster the whole time. And I was like, oh no, and I thought so much of Ming-Yi. And Ming-Yi's been the Blackwater Jean this whole time. This whole time. In the whole story. He's been him. I'm like about to cry. Oh my God. Windmaster, no! Windmaster, no! Oh, sweetheart. starting, when I first was like, oh, BEEFLEAF is a thing, and everybody was like, and I was like, oh, they must go through some angst. Yeah, you could say that. Oh no, oh my God. I'm about to cry, y'all. I'm about to cry, and I'm going to try to hold it together, but the whole story, Mingyi has been the Black Water this entire time. Well, there goes that Long Ying theory. Bye! There goes that theory. She Wudu, the Black Water. Bye! I love how the last few weeks I have been like all about these theories, been like, oh, I'm 10% sure that Long Ying is the Blackwater. I'm like 10% sure that it's Shi Wudu. And then now I'm like, well, I'm 100% sure that it's Mingyi, and Mingyi's been dead this whole time. Oh my God. MXTX, I was waiting for it. There's always, in Modao Zushi, there's always that one moment you get to the story and it just crushes your heart. It pummels it into the ground and like just obliterates it, right? And it was Lotus Pier in Modao Zushi, and here it's BEEFLEAF. It's Mingyi. Oh my God, it's been him the whole time. He's been with them the entire time. All of it is making sense. The dots are aligning, and the biggest sense of dread. That whole scene, I'm not gonna lie, I put the book back on the shelf now because there were no pictures with this section, so I'm gonna have to ask Discord for a picture. Or I'm gonna have to find a picture of, I'm not gonna ask Discord because I don't wanna use fan art for thumbnails because I don't want to take someone else's artwork they've made, and plus, spoilers, I don't want to look at it on the internet. But I'm sure that Star Ember has a shot of the Earth map. Oh my God, he's been there the whole time! Oh my gosh, it's hitting me. It's hitting me in waves. It's hitting me in waves. This entire story, he's been there all the time. Oh my God. Oh. From the start. Now I want to go back and we gotta examine this all over again. He's been there from the beginning. He was there at Banyu. Oh, wait, no. Oh, so, holy shit. MXTX does it. They give you this, they prep for 4 volumes, this bomb to drop in your lap, and it's suddenly like, oh my God. And now I have to wait. to read the next section. Oh my God. Oh, okay. I need to calm down, but I'm not joking where I'm like in this weird state of like wanting to cry for Windmaster and how awful it is. And just my like heart drops my stomach. I went back, what I was going to say before I was interrupted by my shock is I went back and reread that scene of Hua Chong and Shilian in the Puqi Shrine, like standing outside when everything comes to head and Shilian reveals that he's figured it out. That scene is so well done. And we're going to talk about it when we come back to it. But that whole scene, the tension, everything, I was like, oh my God. It all makes sense now. And it just, my heart is breaking. Windmaster, how could you not? Windmaster's one of my favorites in this show. In this whole series, the Windmaster is one of my favorites. And they're just suffering. Oh my God. Okay. God, we need to break this down. So, what can you do when MXTX is just like, here, now you know. So everything, it all makes sense, right? Everything all makes sense. So, Hush on, the scholar, the scholar that was destined to ascend. He was destined to ascend, right? Was going to be a god. That was going to happen. Had this aura around him. What ends up happening is that Shi Wudu ascends and exchanges Hu's life and ascension for the Windmasters who was targeted by the Reverend of Empty Words. So basically the Windmaster and Hashan were both around the same time born. Hashan was supposed to ascend and was destined to do so, and Shi Xingshang was supposed to be the one to die, and Shi Wudu exchanged their fates. He exchanged their fates and made it to where the Windmaster ascended and became a deity, and Hashan did not. So Hashan was given the Reverend of Empty Words and then died. But here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing. We've established that there were 2 supreme ghosts that came out of Mount Tonglu. 2, right? And so we assume that Hashan went to Mount Tonglu. Now, did he go the same time as Huachang? We don't know. Then he came out as a supreme ghost. What's interesting here is that you have Huachang and Heshan who both went to Mount Tonglu. Now, did they go at the same time? We don't know. It would be very interesting if they were there at the same time and came out, or they came out, one after the other, right? And then when they met each other, like, oh, you went to Mount Tonglu? Oh, I did too. Oh, you made it out by killing hundreds of thousands of ghosts? Oh, me too. Like, that's like, they just meet up afterwards. It's like a meet and greet, like a con of who survived Mount Tonglu. And they're like, hey, we can be buddies, right? Because, Bai Wusheng, stay away from him. He's creepy. And, Qirong's trash. So whatever. But I just like the idea, though. The thing of it is that Scholar Hua, motivated by hatred, right? Because why wouldn't you be? You basically had your life taken from you for no reason. For no reason, you had your life taken from you. And so he comes back as a supreme ghost. And then as a supreme ghost, we'll break this down. As a supreme ghost, he eats the Reverend of Empty Words. So it's almost like he first gets revenge upon the thing that killed him. He first goes and finds the Reverend of Empty Words and is like, oh, thanks for killing me and putting me through this mess. Bye, yomp, chomp, chomp, and eats the Reverend of Empty Words and takes his power. So he does that and becomes known as the Blackwater demon Jean. Right? Which it makes so much sense now. The reason why I've been so suspicious of the Water Master is because I've been like, well, there's the Water Master, there's the Blackwater, there's a connection there, and there is a connection there. Except it's not that they're the same person, it's that the Blackwater Demon Jean models itself based on its hatreds towards Shi Wudu and the Windmaster. So it basically has this hatred. It had this hatred of the Water Master for what he did, and the Windmaster for taking what was rightfully his, right? So after eating the Reverend of Empty Words, he basically sent the Reverend of Empty Words to torment, like a copy of it, to torment the Windmaster. Or maybe he went himself. We're not sure. Maybe he went himself. Maybe he sent the copy. Either way, posing as the Reverend of Empty Words, went and started tormenting the Windmaster, right? Started tormenting the Windmaster and threatening that it was going to hurt his brother if he said anything. So the Windmaster didn't speak up to the Watermaster. That's why the Watermaster was like, Reverend of Empty Words, what are you talking about? We dealt with this a long time ago. That shouldn't be a thing. That's why the Watermaster was so surprised, along with Ling Wen and Pei Ming. Ling Wen and Pei Ming, we'll put them up here. Ling Wen and Pei Ming know about the switch. That's why they were all freaked out when the Windmaster was injured. They're like, they know what Shi Wudu has done, and they swore like a bro blood oath to be like, we're not going to say anything about this, so don't worry. And then whenever Shi Li and them brought it up at the mountain, they were like, what are you talking about? What Reverend Empty Words? We took care of that like hundreds of years ago. And Shi Lian's like, no, they're still around. So they clearly were threatened and didn't mention anything. And then hundreds of years ago, oh my God, hundreds of years ago, or at least at some point, the Blackwater demon Jean killed Ming Yi and took his place. Oh my God, that just floors me. He's been in the heavenly realm this whole time. Oh my God. And of course, there's so much that's with that, right? So with that, you have the idea of not wanting to play the game. Not wanting to play the game at the banquet. He immediately passed off the cup because he's like, I don't want a story about myself getting put out here. Don't want to deal with that. That all makes sense now. The fact that he was like just stuffing face at the banquet. Like the idea, there's almost this idea that the Blackwater is like, was living through Ming Yi to get to have the life they didn't have. Like, fine, if I was meant to be a heavenly official, if I can't do it, this means I'm going to kill this one and just take his place and then put myself next to the very thing that I'm trying to get revenge on, and it's perfect. Like, this whole time, Ming Yi demon, I can't call him Ming Yi anymore. Ming Yi's been dead. So it's just like the Blackwater has been there this entire series. The Blackwater's been right in front of us the whole time and has been enjoying its time as a heavenly official trying to get revenge upon the Windmaster. Oh my God. Like just slowly whittling him down all this time. The thing that is crazy about this is that, here's the thing. I do not think still, we don't know who summoned Shi Lian to Banyu. I don't think it was Ming Yi. Why would Ming Yi want to get Shi Lian involved? There's no reason for that. That would just cause more headache for Ming Yi. Why would Ming Yi want to get Shi Lian involved? I don't think so. So we know that the Blackwater did not summon Shi Lian to Banyu. However, the insane thing about this is that did Junwoo know that Ming Yi was the Blackwater? If he didn't, that's kind of insane, because Junwoo's supposed to be like the emperor, like the one in charge of all the heavenly officials. Like, Junwoo should be the one to recognize when something is off like that. But Junwoo was using Ming Yi as a spy. So did Junwoo know that he was a demon and was just using him because... Okay, that brings up a really good point. So I'm going to put this over here. As a side note, did he know secretly that Ming Yi was the Blackwater at this point? Because he uses Ming Yi as a spy to go and investigate. So Ming Yi was the one... Okay, so Ming Yi was the one. I gotta go back and like retrace the steps because MXTX has created like this whirlwind of a timeline. Ming Yi was the one that sent out the flare that lured Shi Lian and the Windmaster to Huachong to possibly get the Windmaster even more in distress and fearful. Okay. Oh my God, this is like the layers of this. The layers of this is insane. So then, okay, so there's that, but I'm like, Ming Yi was the one imprisoned by, we'll talk about that in a minute. Ming Yi was the one imprisoned by Huachong at the Manor, right? We'll talk about that. So, okay, so because Huachong's known all along. He's known from the start. Ever since Banyu, he's known. Oh my God! Now I want to go back and rewatch the Dongwa because the moment Song Long and Ming Yi look at each other at Banyu, it's like the two supreme ghosts are like, I feel like it's that meme where oh gosh, L Page has like changed their name now that they've changed their name. Oh God, I can't think of their name now, what it is, but I just think of the meme where it's like them crossing and like one looks in the car and one looks in the other car and they see each other at Banyu. They both realize who each other are and they're like, why are you here? Why are you here? Ah! Yeah, right? That was a thing. So, oh my God. So, yes. So, oh my God. So, oh God. So Junwoo, we're going to put him down here. Junwoo sent, meanwhile, this is like the side hustle. Junwoo sends Ming-Yi, who is the Blackwater, to spy on Hua Chong because he's suspicious that Hua Chong might be able to be infiltrating the heavenly realm, right? That's been a thing, right? Oh my God. And so then at Banyu, while the spying is going on, we'll put this actually out to the side. At Banyu, that's when Hua Chong realizes that Ming-Yi is actually the Blackwater. So Hua Chong sees Ming-Yi at Banyu with Shi Lian and is like, oh, holy shit, that's you. Why are you in the heavenly realm? What are you doing? What's going on? What is this? And then later, Hua Chong gets a hold of Ming-Yi while spying. But here's the thing. Because Shi Lian and the Windmaster were sent to take care of it. Here's the thing. This is the point I put out here to the side. Not wanting to play the game, stuffing at the banquet, blah, blah, blah. They had an agreement with Hua Chong. And I think the agreement was, they were like, look, I have a mission. My mission is to get revenge on the Watermaster and the Windmaster. And Hua Chong, who doesn't care about these people, is like, okay, cool. Fine. You do your business. I won't bother you. You got business to do. I won't care. My question is, was Hua Chong getting info from Ming-Yi? Was Ming-Yi like a triple agent this whole time and was working for Hua Chong while working for Junwoo at the same time? Was that the case? And Hua Chong didn't realize that Junwoo had sent Ming-Yi to spy on him. He was just using Ming-Yi to get info for him. So was that the case? And Ming-Yi was kind of like caught in between, or the Blackwater was caught in between these two forces, like working for both without either of them realizing it? Maybe, possibly. That could be. That adds a whole nother layer to way back a few chapters ago when Pei Ming was like, well, you've been getting, or was it Ming-Yi? Was it the Blackwater that was saying, oh, well, you have spies in the heavenly realm? And Hua Chong's like, you would know. Like, was that what that was referring to? I think it was. I think Hua Chong's like, why are you bringing up spies when you know very well that you're the biggest spy that's there? Oh my God. But anyway, so we don't know for certain if the Blackwater was the spy gathering intel for Hua Chong while simultaneously gathering intel for Junwoo. We don't know if that's the case. If the Blackwater was a spy for both sides and the Blackwater had to go along with Junwoo because he didn't want to be discovered as being a supreme ghost. He's like, well, I've managed to fool Junwoo so far, so if I just do what he says, he'll leave me alone. But then he gets captured by Hua Chong. Hua Chong captures him. But here's the thing. I feel like Hua Chong was one like, oh, hey, why are you here? You entered my domain. Dude, land is my deal. Water's your deal. We had an agreement. We would stay off each other's turfs. You got to do your thing on your own time. I think that Hua Chong was super mad at the Blackwater because he's like, hey, I said I'd stay out of your business. You leave Shi Lian alone. And now you got Shi Lian involved in this and he could get hurt. And I don't want that. That's where I think now it makes sense. Now it really makes sense why Hua Chong does not like Ming-Yi at all. Did not like Ming-Yi at all. He was like, I know what you are. He's like, I can see through you. I know you're not who you say you are. I know this whole thing is your deal. But you've gotten my love involved. And now I'm pissed. So you need to stay away from Shi Lian. That's my deal. You go do your own thing. Oh my God, it all makes sense now. Yes. So, side note, that does leave the whole thing with Yang Ling of why Hua Chong is very suspicious of Long Ying. And now I'm like, is this Bai Wusheng? Now that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, is this Bai Wusheng reincarnated now that we've established their secrets going around? So, oh my god. But yeah, so I am floored still. So yeah, so Hua Chong was like, hey, I said you could have your revenge and I'd stay out of it. Leave my love alone. Because here's the thing. His hatred of the Water Master and Wind Master is why he became a Supreme Ghost, right? My deal is, what I think MXTX is trying to do that's very poetic is you have these two ghosts, these two unfortunate souls who got tossed into the Mount Tonglu, like melting pot of evil and despair. And you had Hua Shan come out of it being a Supreme Ghost fueled by hatred and revenge, right? And that's what makes him so strong. But you have Hua Chong, who comes out of it fueled by love, fueled by his love of Xi Lian. And that's what fuels each of them. One is fueled by love, one is fueled by hatred. Yeah. And I feel like, okay, if we have our 4 ghosts, we have like this little compass, this spectrum, right? You have, in the south, you have hatred fueling the Blackwater. You have love fueling the Crimson Rain Sop Flower. Makes sense with their names. I think that you have Qi Rong, who is fueled by legacy and jealousy and just like this sense of envy. Like it's envy, jealousy, and legacy and greed. Like all this stuff, like all the human emotions fueling Qi Rong in the worst way possible. And then I think Bai Wusheng is just chaos. There's no humanity there. Like no, Qi Rong is all of humanity's worst bundled up in a little ball, and it's almost hilarious how obvious it is. Bai Wusheng, I feel like, is devoid of emotion, is just devoid of humanity. It's just like the polar opposite of Qi Rong, where it's just like, Qi Rong isn't threatening because he's kind of relatable, and we get the emotions that he's evoking, and we're like, okay, we get it. Yeah, you're a trash king, blah, blah, blah. Bai Wusheng's terrifying because it seems so alien and foreign. And it's like, I don't know what you're about, and I don't like it. I like that. That's kind of the difference, right? And then we have love and hate. So, I love it. MXTX. I'm freaking amazed by it. But anyway, back to this deal. So, for hundreds of years, the Blackwater has been hiding in plain sight as the Earth Master. Which is so funny because you have water and earth like polar opposites, right? So no one would suspect. But it also makes sense because he's not good at using the shovel because he doesn't know how to use it. But also, they said back in Volume 1, they're like, oh, the Blackwater's a recluse. They've been, hiding for years. Doesn't really bother anybody. Yeah, they've been hiding for years, not bothering anybody because they've been in the heavenly realm this whole time. So, which makes, I was suspicious of the Water Master as being the Blackwater for a long time, but the one thing that was holding me back from being like cemented was I'm like, well, how could a heavenly official be a Supreme Ghost? Well, a Supreme Ghost can be a heavenly official, or at least impersonate one, so why not? Why not? All bets are off now. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, Hua Chong could easily infiltrate the heavenly realm if Blackwater can. Oh my god, that just like floors me that this whole time a Supreme Ghost has been in the heavenly realm just chilling out, being besties with its prey. Like it's just sat there like with its mouth hung open like a lion, just like sitting there with the Windmaster as a mouse just dangling around its teeth this entire time for centuries. Like just feeding off of that fear. Oh my god. Oh my god. So yeah, so it for hundreds of years it has posed as such, and the only thing, and it would have probably continued to do so and continued to get its revenge. The only thing that stopped it was Xi Lian showing up. Xi Lian shows up at Banyu and befriends the Windmaster. That's the thing. It shows up, befriends the Windmaster. And it becomes a thing. And then Ming Yi, I feel like Ming Yi getting captured by Hua Chong was Hua Chong being like, hey, I know we have an agreement. I know we're doing this thing. But like I told you, I said I wouldn't get involved in your revenge. you leave Shelian alone because he's mine. Like, we have an agreement. We got some solidarity. We got Supreme Ghost Bro solidarity. We're not going to harm each other. We're going to stay out of each other's business. But the wires have crossed where your prey and my love are together, and we need to make sure, as one Supreme Ghost to the other, we're not going to bother each other's people, right? Right? And we'll get to the point in the novel, but Shelian even points out, Shelian's like, dude, Shelian's like, Hua Chong, you even, like, I know you've made this agreement with him long before I befriended the Windmaster, and the Blackwater was even trying to honor it by saving you face by trying to keep me out of things. Because, yeah, the Blackwaters even tried to keep Shelian out of it, because the Blackwater probably knew. They're like, I promised Hua Chong I wouldn't get you involved. Stay out. Like I don't want to fight the other Supreme Ghost. We had an agreement, and Hua Chong, meanwhile, was like, Shelian, maybe you should stay out of anything involving the three tumors and the Windmaster and Earthmaster. Let them handle it themselves. Like, Hua Chong this whole time was trying to keep Shelian out of it because they had all, and the Blackwaters tried to keep Shelian out of it because they had an agreement. And they were like, we don't need you to meddle. And then Shelian meddled. And so, oh my God. But yeah, so he's probably captured by Hua Chong, got a warning, and then Shelian showed up and saved him. Showed up and saved the Blackwater. And Hua Chong this whole time, has been going, he doesn't want to tell Shelian what to do, and he doesn't want to reveal and break the oath that he formed with the Blackwater. So Hua Chong's just like been in this tight corner this whole time, being like, Shelian, if you just leave it alone, just let things work out. We've had this agreement for centuries. Stop, right? But he saved the Blackwater, and then everything came to a head, right? So what even started? Oh my God. So the Windmaster, who was at this point still getting pestered by the Reverend of Empty Words, because they've been pestered by the Reverend of Empty Words, aka the Blackwater, for centuries. But the Windmaster never had a friend they could rely upon like Shelian. And Shelian shows up, and the Windmaster went to Shelian for help with the Reverend of Empty Words. And the Blackwater this whole time is probably thinking, well, shit, there's Hua Chong. And that's why Hua Chong was like, why are you here? Didn't we talk about this? Like, oh my God. Like, just the tension now makes so much sense between Ming Yi and Hua Chong. The tension makes so much sense because they're both Supreme Ghosts, and they're like, didn't we tell each other to stay out of each other's business? But our boyfriends, well, Hua Chong's boyfriend and the Blackwater's prey keep getting in the way together. And that all makes sense now. Also, it's mildly hilarious that Hua Chong was like, here, Blackwater, have some of Shelian's cooking. And now it's like Hua Chong was just torturing him, like, how dare you come into my Puqi shrine with my love and get in my way, get out, But Shelian didn't know any better and was like, oh, let him stay. And Hua Chong's like, didn't we talk about this? And so, yeah, everything with the distance shortening array makes sense. The fact that when they went to Fugu and the Windmaster got separated with Ming Yi, that was the Blackwater the whole time. It all makes sense. The fact that you couldn't see it was a shadow, it was probably a clone from Black Sean. Oh my God, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. And Ming Yi showing up. Oh my God, when Shelian was looking around and then suddenly Ming Yi showed up and like, look, there's the Windmaster. They set all that up. They set all of it up to get the tumors to come down, to get them, oh my God, to get them to take it. Oh my God. To get them to take it, to take Windmaster away. Like, it was all, the entire time was just all the shenanigans. Where's that marker? So all the shenanigans followed, and the moment that that Shi Wudu took the Windmaster away, the moment that happened, right? That was supposed to be the end of it, right? That was supposed to be the end of things. Because here's what the plan was. And now it makes sense why the soul shifting spell freaked Hua Chong out so much. Not because Shilian was in danger, but because Shilian was going to be put directly with the Blackwater. And Hua Chong was like, I've told the Blackwater not to hurt you, but, now it's going to make it seem like Hua Chong is meddling with the agreement he had with the Blackwater. So I feel like that as soon as Shiwudu and the Tumors took the Windmaster away, that was supposed to be the end of it. That was supposed to be the end of Hua Chong and Shilian's involvement. The Blackwater was going to come up. The Blackwater was probably going to still attack Shiwudu and the Windmaster as planned, but Hua Chong was not going to get involved anymore, and Shilian wasn't going to get involved anymore, and that was going to be the end of it. And that was going to be the end of it, right? That was going to be saying. I'm assuming that it's one of two things. Either the Blackwater was going to burrow up and get the Windmaster and take them away, and possibly put them in the Iron Prison, and that was going to freak Pei Ming and the others out, which would have gotten back to the Watermaster, which would have messed up his Heavenly Calamity, which would have caused this big cavalcade of like a domino effect, right? That's option one. Option two is that the Watermaster and the Windmaster weren't immediately going to be targeted after this, but the moment that the Blackwater sensed Shilian was coming back to save the Windmaster, they were like, well, damn it, I've got to get involved again because you're trying to mess up my plans. And then that led to all of this happening. So either way, Shilian was not supposed to get involved, and the Blackwater was going to have their revenge on their own terms. And Shilian getting involved messed everything up and led to all of this stuff happening, them going to the lair. So Ming Yi could have, floated in a coffin because they were already dead. Oh my God. And that was the thing from the start, right? And they'd taken the Windmaster away. So yeah, all this time, I've been suspicious of Shiwudu when really I should have been suspicious of Ming Yi. And the last several chapters I've been like, well, Ming Yi's cleared of suspicion. Glad they're off the hook. Glad there's nothing suspicious about them at all. And you all were so nice. You were like, glad we got that cleared up. This is why I love that you all are so kind and you don't spoil me because of this. I'm like, I have, like that feeling like you're about to faint. I've had that shaky feeling like that ever since finishing this chapter. And the last time I felt this way, to give you all a frame of reference, was in episode 22 of Banana Fish. That's the last time I felt this way. I've not reeled from a shocking revelation like that. I've not been reeling from a revelation like that since then, and that was 2 years ago. On this channel, I've never had just a reveal just come out of the nowhere and be like, oh my God, it's been there the whole time. Like, I would say there's a recent episode of Bungo Stray Dogs that had probably the closest effect to it, but I wasn't quite having this feeling. I feel like my blood sugar's low. Like, I'm gonna have to go eat something after this because it's like, what the hell? But yeah, so the moment it was all supposed to be over, and Hua Chong tried to say, hey, now that the Windmaster is back with his brother, let's leave the case alone. Like, what a fun journey that was. Glad no one broke their promises. Glad you weren't hurt by this other Supreme Ghost. But let's just now not do anything. And one thing about the Blackwater is that they are true to their word. It seems like that's the one thing that Hua Chong and the Blackwater had an agreement, and they're like, hey, you and I ain't got any beef between us. We both suffered and been through this whole Mount Tonglu experience. We both came out as Supreme Ghosts. Good for us. You want to go get revenge? You go do it. I'm not going to stop you. It's fine. You do your thing, I'll do my thing. Like, that seems to be the agreement. And they both seem true to their word. So for Hua Chong, he's like, I'm sorry. My boyfriend is a little bit prying, and he kind of likes to stick his nose in other people's business. It's a trait. I love him still. But, oh my God. We need to go through these chapters. I haven't even touched these chapters yet. I'm just like floored. I'm like, oh my God. So yeah. So the idea of, again, General Pei is the pincushion. I love that General Pei, everybody's like, oh, he'll be fine. They're like, General Pei will be fine. He can take care of himself. Which, granted, when he swings that sword and like wipes out all the little ghosts, it's like, yeah, no, he probably can take care of himself. He's kind of that strong. And he's a martial god, so that's the thing. The Water Master and the Wind Master are not martial gods. They're not gods that are battling. They just control elements. That's what makes them strong. It's not their fighting ability. So even though the Water Master is like the number 3 heavenly official in all of the heavenly realm, he's not a fighter. So it kind of is a different game than when Pei Ming is like, I'm a fighter, and can show it, right? But I will be honest, though. The Water Master was so suspicious this entire set of chapters, and what a red herring, right? What a red herring. MXTX makes us think that Ming Yi, aka the Blackwater, is innocent in all of this. They're like, oh, well, it can't be Ming Yi. He's been doing all this stuff for the Windmaster. Like the Wind... God, and now thinking back, the Windmaster bouncing on the shovel and Ming Yi not being in total control of it, that should have been a sign, because that was his heavenly tool. Why wouldn't he be in total control of it? And the Windmaster's fan was broke. Well, Ming Yi did that because they were the Blackwater and didn't want him to have his fan anymore. That all makes sense. It's like, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm just so floored. But yeah, so the Water Master was really suspicious, though, because they kept being like, what? They kept doing silly things that should have made sense that would not work. But in hindsight, going back, it makes sense now in hindsight why they wouldn't work. Because the Water Master was seriously freaking out for their brother. They were like, I'm so worried about their brother that the thing about the Water Master that we've come to know as the audience is that, 1, he's kind of arrogant. 2, he kind of thinks he's better than a lot of people. 3, he loves his brother more than anything and is willing to do anything to save his brother. And 4, he kind of like, because he's so powerful, he oftentimes doesn't think that things are a big deal because he thinks it's all going to work out, right? So there's that. And so that combination is really dangerous. But the idea that what's interesting is that the Earth Master, well, the Earth Master was in the prison, right? But the Water Master leaps down into the water to go after, to find his brother. And at first that seems rather suspicious because he just jumps in without hesitation. But knowing he's arrogant and thinks he's strong enough to deal with it, it kind of makes sense in hindsight now, right? I'm glad they didn't send Pei Ming down there. I'm glad that Pei Ming got out. I'm hoping the fact that Pei Ming is maybe at a coffin with the little ghost is a sign that he can come back and help in these next couple chapters. I'm hoping that's the case. Or he can go back to the heavenly realm. I'm hoping that's the case. But we don't know. But yeah, also the fact that now the 2 deputy generals didn't recognize Ming Yi back at Banyu is starting to make more sense. Like that should have been like a little foreshadowing, been like, I don't know that heavenly official. Because it wasn't a heavenly official, it was a supreme ghost in disguise. Should have made sense. Should have been foreshadowing, but what can we do? But yeah, so they all go back, and I like that Shi Lian's like, it's all right. I'll go down there and get the Windmaster. We're all good. And so I like that, again, Hua Chong is not going to tell Shi Lian no, because that's not the type of boyfriend he is. But Shi Lian's like, can I borrow just a little bit of your power? I'm going to go save the Windmaster. And Hua Chong's like, doesn't say anything, just pats his back, and he instantly has like a ton of power. Hua Chong is like, we shouldn't be here. I'm kind of invading my friend. We're not friends. Me and the Blackwater are not friends, but we know each other. We have an agreement. I'm kind of, messing with that agreement. We need to get out of here as soon as we can. Please. But he's like, I don't want to leave Shi Lian by himself because he knows Shi Lian will get into trouble, and he wants to make sure the Blackwater doesn't hurt him. So there's that. But yeah, they managed to go in, and the idea that the Blackwater has all of these living people around is interesting. Why would the Blackwater Jean lock up a bunch of people here? What's the point? So that is one thing that is curious, is why lock up a bunch of people? What's the point? Like, he doesn't kill them. Why lock them up? So, I mean, there could be different things that you can discern from this. The Blackwater Demon Jean, the thing about it is that he's not really gone out trying to kill a bunch of people. He's really only after killing 2 people. The only people he is after is the Windmaster and Watermaster. It's kind of the opposite of Hua Chong. Hua Chong only cares about Shi Lian. He loves Shi Lian more than life itself, and Shi Lian's the only one he's caring about and devoting his entire life to. Whereas conversely, the Water Master and the Wind Master are the only two that the Blackwater demon Jean is focusing on, but it's with hatred instead of love. So it's the parallels between Hua Chong and He Shan are very interesting, right? Because of how different they are. But yeah, so the Blackwater demon Jean is not a murderer necessarily, but imprisons many. It's maybe one of those things where he's like trying to create a name for himself, being like, or here's the other thing too. The demon Jean may not really even realize how many people are in their prison. They've got all these monsters and ghosts around capturing people. He's been gone for a long time up in the heavenly realm trying to get the Wind Master. So he's not really been at his lair to know what's going on. So these people that have just been like in this tower, in this prison for months and years, the Blackwater may not even realize that's a thing. They're just like, oh yeah, I've captured all these prisoners, but I've been away doing other things. I've not really paid attention. That could be a thing, right? Oh my God. And so then, yeah, why would they get all these people locked up? I kind of want an answer to that question, but I don't want anybody in the comments to tell me. I want to find out in the next couple chapters if it comes out. I feel like they're going to confront the Blackwater and be like, oh, so hey, you're not Ming Yi, you're the Blackwater, what's up? But we'll see if we get answers to that question. Oh my God. Oh my God. But yeah, so the Wind Master has a scratch, but they're not hurt. But they're more worried about Ming Yi, who was just being a fake the entire time. That the bones, yeah. So he was bitten by those creatures in the sea. And the Wind Master gave him all the medicine. Oh my God, that he had. Maybe the medicine was hurting the Blackwater more than anything. Or this is all just the Blackwater acting. Oh my God. And so the sad thing is, the thing that's heartbreaking in all of this is that up until we find out that Ming Yi's been dead this whole time, the Wind Master has been actively helping the Blackwater. Helping them, supporting them, claiming their love for them, defending them. This whole time, it's been the Wind Master doing that for the Blackwater. And I'm almost wondering if the Blackwater hasn't killed the Wind Master up until now because they've kind of like maybe gotten accustomed to it, been like, isn't this interesting? I still think the Blackwater hates the Wind Master and especially the Water Master. Especially the Water Master. I think the Blackwater wants to kill the Water Master very much so, and wants to torture them. But the Wind Master, I mean, yeah, the Wind Master is the one that ended up with their fate. But do I think that the Blackwater hates the Wind Master as much as the Water Master because they ended up with their power? No, I still think that maybe they hate them, but maybe they feel like they can, like, let me keep you around a little bit longer. It's either the Blackwater maybe has a little bit of sympathy towards the Wind Master, especially with how the Wind Master treats them, or no, it's just an act, and they're like, I actually still actively hate you, but I'm like slowly sucking the life out of you like a leech. Probably the latter, but it's interesting. So yeah, at first, I thought that Xi Lian was going to send Hua Chong with Pei Ming to go make the coffin boat, and Xi Lian was going to go in by himself. And I was like, well, first of all, Hua Chong's not going to let you go in by yourself. That's not going to happen. But second of all, I'm just in my mind picturing Pei Ming and Hua Chong like on the riverside making a coffin boat, and it's the biggest thing possible so that they can be as far apart from each other as possible. And Hua Chong and Pei Ming are on opposite sides of the coffin, like, sup, don't talk. Like, I'm so glad that didn't happen, but part of me is like, I could never imagine Pei Ming and Hua Chong in like a situation where they're remotely close to one another. That's absolutely hilarious. But Hua Chong's not leaving Xi Lian at this point because he knows that Xi Lian's in danger with everything going on around them. And so, yeah, he's like, if this is awkward for you, San Long, you don't have to come. And Hua Chong's like, we need to leave here as soon as possible. Hua Chong knows that the Blackwater is right there in front of them. He's been there this whole time. He knows that Hua Chong's there. I'm sure that Blackwater's put two and two together and knows that Xi Lian is the one that Hua Chong was like, we don't mess with him. But Hua Chong, in trying to keep his agreement, is like, we need to get out of here because we are in the middle of something that is not our business. We need to leave right now. And so it's like, yeah, he seems that it's not that Hua Chong is uneasy about the black water. It's something else, but it is the black water, just not, immediately. So again, they get to the near Nether Water Manor, and I like that Shi Li, again, the Blackwater has seen everything going down in this so far. So he has seen how polite Shi Lian is. So a part of me is probably going to be like, well, the Water Master, the Blackwater is probably like, Hua Chong, take your guy and go. Like, he's fine. He's okay. I got revenge on these guys. You go. And Hua Chong's like, thank you. Like one of those things. But God, Shi Lian being like, pardon the intrusion. We have by accident offended him bluntly. We have deeply apologized. And then they open the doors, and in the center of the entrance hall is a person in all black, its face snow white. A corpse. And it was Ming Yi. I'm like, Blackwater, why do you have the corpse of Ming Yi just in the middle of your hall? Why? Is it because, here's the thing. Does the corpse need to be still around so that the Blackwater can impersonate them? Does it need to like keep the corpse around for it to be viable? Maybe. And he's like, why is it being worshipped here? And then I like the Blackwater was like, well, could General Pei, could it be him? Like, what an actor! Just trying to fool everybody. And then they're like, no, it couldn't be. And then the Windmaster is like, is this the Blackwater Demon Jean? Well, no, it is the person the Blackwater Demon Jean has possessed and become. So not even possessed, just taken the place of. Oh my God. Okay. And so Shi Lian glanced at Hua Chong saying, no, an ash is the life source of those in the ghost realm. It's their fatal weakness. How can something so important be easily displayed out in the open? And so Hua Chong is watching him intently. And Shi Lian like kind of gets dazed for a moment, like, what are you watching me intently for? But then, yeah, like Hua Chong's like, okay, are you figuring things out, Shi Lian? Like Hua Chong is wanting to get out of there as soon as possible. And like, let's go, let's leave. And so then, what did Shi Wudu say that got the skeleton of Ming Yi so riled up? He says this man's hand and feet should be fairly dexterous, especially his fingers. He should have practiced some sort of martial art, but his skills might not be strong. For the majority of exceptional martial arts trained in a pure body, the bone structure shouldn't be like this. He was the Earth Master. He wasn't a martial god. And he wasn't as strong, so that's why. And Shi Wudu says, the fact that Shi Wudu swept his eyes over the corpse before turning away, as long as that thing won't stand in our way, it doesn't matter who he is. Oh. And that's so sad that the skeleton raised its head and lunged at Shi Wudu. The fact that this whole time the Water Master has had such a disdain for the Earth Master being around the Wind Master and calling him unfavorable. Now it makes sense. In reality, yeah, the Earth Master was the last person that should have ever been around the Wind Master this entire story. But the fact of the matter that the Wind Master was probably friends with Ming Yi, and Ming Yi died for this Supreme Ghost to go after their friend, and then the Water Master was insulting them, and that was the last of their energy was used to lunge at him for saying that. My heart. It's it didn't have a single piece of its soul left. It was terminal lucidity. On the verge of death, it suddenly gathered the last of its strength and made that move. Oh my God. And that's when Ming Yi, who is the Blackwater, establishes what Shi Wudu says as what provoked the skeleton. Oh my God. It's just, I can't believe it. I can't believe the reveal. It was there all along. It all makes sense. It all ties in. Oh my God. So yeah. So they wander through the Blackwater's home. It's almost like the Blackwater is there giving them a tour of everything. And then, of course, the Blackwater, who's the expert with the distance shortening array, who is really the Blackwater, finds the spiritual ray and says, okay, we go in one at a time. And the reason for that was to separate the Water Master from the Wind Master so they could attack them simultaneously, or to attack them on their own, volition, at their own agenda. And so Hua Chong is like, hey, I'm going to go with Shi Lian. I'm already dead. And it makes so much sense now. When Hua Chong says Puqi Shrine to Ming Yi, Hua Chong is telling the Blackwater, hey, we're going back home and leaving you alone. So do this and we'll be out of your hair. Oh my God. Yes. The one thing that I didn't realize was that the water dragons were actually those created by the Water Master. I thought they were the Blackwater's pets, but they were the Water Masters. So I'm sure in the comments the last several weeks, because like I said, I'm recording ahead, I'm sure several people have been like, the water dragons are actually the Water Master's pets. And I'll be like, gotcha now. Figured that out. It just took me 3 weeks. So yeah, no, that all makes sense now. That makes sense why the Water Master was perched on the dragon's head. That all makes sense now. Baka brain, didn't put 2 and 2 together. All makes sense. Now my red herring, theories about the Water Master being the Blackwater are all like, oh my God. I'm sure you all were just sitting at home watching my reactions and laughing, going, really? That's what you think? Okay. So yeah. And so, Water Master Zhang, you're really unlucky this time. Yeah, no joke. And so, here's the thing. It all makes sense now, too, that Shilian trying to ask the Earth Master to go first, and the Blackwater's like, no, I can't go first. I have to be last. Because it was his home. He had to go last because he had to be the last person to leave. Oh my God. Yes, that all makes sense. And the Wind Master being like, I don't want Mingzhang to suffer like this. I feel really bad. Oh my God. And so we'll still need a volunteer to test it. And the Wind Master tests it. And then I like that Hua Chong interrupts. Hua Chong tries to point out the problem being a logical thing. But even Hua Chong at this point cannot sit there and be like, okay, wait a minute, guys. Let's be real. Hold on. Even he has to kind of stop and be like, let's think about this for a hot second. Because otherwise it wouldn't seem as right? And so the restlessness had been brought around. So the heavenly calamity keeps coming in. And so the Water Master goes first. And Mingyi's like, okay, done, next. And then the Wind Master goes, next. And then Hua Chong says, I love that Hua Chong this whole time is dark. And he's saying, we're going together. The Hua Chong at this point is very solemn and is like, we're getting out of here and this is the end of it. And so then I love that Hua Chong just looks at the Blackwater and says, Puqi Shrine. And the Blackwater nods silently. And he has a dark expression as he closes the crack. Oh my God. And Shilian was wondering, he thought that the dark expression was the fact that Mingyi was in pain, but it wasn't. It was the fact that it was like 2 supreme ghosts looking at each other being like, okay, what's done is done, right? We're even. Oh my God. Oh God, that whole thing. And then they're back at the Puqi Shrine. The one moment of levity in this entire set of chapters, the one moment of levity is that we see Qirong in the dad's body sprawled out, snoring loudly. Guzi is sprawled over Qirong, and then Lang Ying is curled neatly in the corner, covered by a few shirts. The line, Shilian lifted the blanket, covering Qirong, suppressing the urge to smother his face, and covered the small children. I just love dun 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 dun. Shilian's like, I could smother him and not today. I just love that one moment of just shade, pure unadulterated shade that Shilian has towards his cousin. Like, God, I hate you. Just lingering. And then Hua Chong's like, okay, it's over. But he knows. And Shilian's like, we don't know if the others made it back yet. And so he goes outside the shrine and Hua Chong's like, he's like, come on, are you all back? And then he decides to go visit the Heavenly Realm and everything's in chaos. Of course it is. Everything's in chaos right now. And Ling Wen is like, how much do I have to go through? Don't you all use your brains before asking me? So Ling Wen, apparently there's a bunch of people asking Ling Wen for information. Ling Wen is like, there's too much fake news. Get out of here. And Shilian's like, hey, has the Water Master come back yet? And Ling Wen's like, where have you been? Where have you been in all this? Why is there no communication? Where's General Pei? So General Pei is somewhere. We don't know where. I'm hoping General Pei like comes in at the last minute to help or makes his way back to the Heavenly Realm. One of the two. But he's like, I was at the South Sea. And like, the South Sea, the Blackwater Demon Lair. Like, how did you end up there? We never touched that place. Are the others okay? And then Ling Wen's like, no, the East Sea calmed a long time ago. And the fishermen have been rescued, but there's no trace of them on the shores of the sea. And Shilian's like, oh, Your Highness, do you still have something to say? And he's like, it's too late. And he's like, Sun Long. And what I like is that Sun Long, in the actual book, in this translation, it's Sun Long, his hands are clenched at his side, silently. In the book, it's his hands are behind his back. But it almost looks like, Hua Chong is standing to attention, being like, yes, Your Highness. Like, like, yes, Your Highness, I know what you're going to ask. And he's like, did you and that person reach an agreement a long time ago? But here's the thing. This is what's beautiful, is that Shilian isn't mad at Hua Chong. He's not. Because he realizes, he's like, oh, you two made an agreement a long time ago. He's like, you don't have to answer me. If you have reached an agreement a long time ago with someone else, I wouldn't want you to become someone who went back on their word because of me. It's my fault. I put you in this difficult situation. Shilian's like, damn it. He's like, that's why you've been so quiet on this trip. Because usually, Hua Chong is usually very talkative, right? Very talkative. And the thing about it is, oh my God. The thing about it is that when Hua Chong left to go get the step litter, one, he wanted to get Shilian out of there immediately. Like, I'm going to go get my step litter. I'm going to get Shilian out of here because the 3 tumors are about to show up, which are part of Blackwater's prey. He's like, I don't want to be a part of this. We made an agreement, so I'm going to get my step litter and get Shilian out of here so that we don't have to be in the way. But 2, he left because he didn't want to get involved, because if Hua Chong, a supreme ghost, is revealed to be part of this whole mess, then that could get Junwoo investigating, and Junwoo could come to find out that the Earthmaster had their place taken by the Blackwater, and that could be a whole thing. And so Hua Chong was like, I'm going to get out of here before I'm going to take care of things. And the way that Shilian's like, oh, are you going to go fight the Reverend of Empty Words? No! That all makes sense now, too, because Hua Chong's like, no, I'm not going to fight the Blackwater. We have an agreement. Not going to mess with him. Oh my God. Oh, that all makes sense now. It all makes sense. So yeah, he's like, I'm sorry, Your Highness. He's like, and Shilian's like, don't apologize. I should have figured this out a long time ago. It must have been due to some sort of agreement. You couldn't interfere and you couldn't tell me the truth directly. And Shilian's like, it wasn't like Hua Chong didn't try to stop him. But he didn't obstruct Shilian's desires either. He only accompanied him as this neutral party and protected Shilian along the way, even with a plan to break away already prepared. Only there was always something that dragged Shilian deeper into the heart of the affair. Shilian's like, I should be thanking you instead. He's like, you were trying to save me this whole time. But you not only tried to protect me the whole way, but you let me make my own decisions, right? Oh. And Hua Chong's like, so you figured everything out? He's like, yeah. I figured it out a long time ago, but he, the Blackwater, is incredible. I'd often think too much, too, and dismiss my own suspicions and end up overlooking the most straightforward possibilities. And then he says, and that person, the Blackwater, gave you a lot of face. To peacefully send me away, he put in considerable effort and wasted much time detouring. Yeah, so it's like Shilian's like, I can't be mad at him. He's like, the Blackwater, he's like, I can't be mad because he not only didn't try to kill me because y'all made an agreement, but he tried to do right by you, Hua Chong. He tried to send me away all the time and encourage me not to follow and not get involved. Like, yeah, the Blackwater's Ming Yi this entire time has been like, stay out of this. And has been trying to encourage Shilian to stay away. And Shilian's like, I just couldn't keep my nose out. He's like, we did all this time detouring when we really didn't have to. He was just trying to do you right by your agreement that you had with him. And Hua Chong's like, Gege, this is over. The whole thing ends. And then Shilian goes, well, I wish that was the case. But he crossed a line. But he might have crossed a line. And Hua Chong's like, Hua Chong's just like, but you've come back and there's no way for you to return to the demon lair. Let them take care of their own affairs now. Like, Hua Chong's not disagreeing that maybe a line has been crossed by both the Watermaster and the Blackwater. And Xilian's like, Windmaster's my friend, bro. And I gotta protect him too now. Like, it's not fair to the Windmaster, who didn't have any knowledge that this was happening. It's not fair to the Windmaster what's happening. Like, the Watermaster, sure, Watermaster caused all of this. This is all the Watermaster's fault. For whatever reason, despite knowing that he had the best of intentions, this entire mess that has resulted in the death of another heavenly official and, like, the demise of real people is the Watermaster's fault. It's them. But the Windmaster is suffering for no reason. The Windmaster didn't ask for this. It was just thrust upon them without them even realizing it. So Xilian's like, I can't. He's like, there's been a line. He's like, there's been a line crossed. The Watermaster's crossed a line in doing all of this, and Heshan, the Blackwater's crossed a line in trying to hurt the Watermaster when they don't need to. So I kind of need to get involved. And then Hua Chong's like, but you can't go back. And he's like, yeah, I can. And Hua Chong's like, oh my God, no, not this. He's like, I'm so sorry, Sanlong, but I have to go back for a bit. And Hua Chong instantly understood. He hadn't expected his move, and his eyes widened. Gege. And Xilian's like, soul shifting spell. And then he's back. But the thing about it is that Xilian's body can no longer be used by the Windmaster because he's sealed it off. But the Windmaster hadn't sealed his body off. So now Xilian is also inside the Windmaster's body, like taking up space, which is insanity. And I like these, like, maybe Hua Chong caught him. Oh, you know Hua Chong is like a Snow White style, like, bed already made, and there's, like, flowers surrounding it, and he's, like, kicked Qirong outside and, like, made a space for Xilian, like Snow White. You know that's already happened. Already been a thing. Oh, my gosh. It's going to be, like, it reminds me a lot of, like, his body collapsing and going limp. Reminds me of Modazushi, where Wei Wuxian's body, like, collapses when he uses the Paperman and Lan Wangji catches it. Same deal. But yeah, and so what I love is that there's like a little bit of humor here where the Windmaster's like, I'm running, why am I not running? Why are you inside of me? And they have to like hold each other's mouths open. They talk through each other, like just the sheer insanity of it. Oh my God. And then he's like, where's the Watermaster? Now, the one thing that is suspicious is that the Watermaster's nowhere to be seen. But knowing now that the Blackwater sent them to different locations, it's very clear that probably the Blackwater sent the Watermaster far, far away to deal with their own calamity or whatever, or have the calamity stall them while dealing with the Windmaster. That seems to be what has happened, right? Seems to be what has happened. And the Blackwater is just trying to like run the Windmaster into exhaustion. And then Xilian, I was wondering, up until the point where it was revealed that it was, in fact, the Earthmaster, I kept thinking that they were thinking it was the Watermaster the whole time. I thought I was right. I was like, oh, I figured it out. We cracked the code together. And I was waiting for Xilian. But the moment they see Ming Yi and Xilian gets concerned, I'm like, wait. I was like, is Ming Yi and the Watermaster working together? Is that the twist? Did not see it coming for 1,000 miles away that the Earthmaster's been dead this whole time. And that Sean, the Blackwater, has taken his place. Did not think about it at all. Nope. Never thought about it. And so I love this, like, Mingzhan didn't, and they try to pass off, like Xilian is trying to get the Blackwater to not realize he's inhabited the Windmaster's body, right? Trying not to get him to figure it out. And I love that they like mouth, they were like, we need to find him. Like just like mouthing the words so that Ming Yi, aka the Blackwater, can't find them. And the moment that the Blackwater's like, oh, it's fine, I'm not poisoned, I'm like, suspicious! Suspicious! But then yeah, they're like, he's fake. And he says the Reverend of Empty Words. The Blackwater, Demon Jean, Scholar Shah, Hesha. I love this where he's like, who's fake? He's like, it's all been right in front of us this entire time. A few days ago, the Reverend of Empty Words, the Windmaster bumped into, was no more than a minion or a pathetic clone or some leftover crumbs. It's not right to call them the Reverend of Empty Words anymore. He's like, no, the third name. And he's like, oh, I think we should rest again before we continue our search. And I like the Blackwater's like, well, what time do we have to rest now? And he's like, well, you're poisoned. We should rest. Here, I'll go get you some water. And so then he goes to get the water. He's like, what are you saying? Just who is the person behind me? Did one of them shapeshift into Mingjong, or did they all possess him? And Shilian's like, you got to calm down. It's him. The one next to you is only one person. From the beginning, the Reverend of Empty Words, Heshan, the Blackwater, Ming Yi, they've all been the same person from the start. No one's been possessed. No one shapeshifted. Don't call him Mingjong anymore. The real Mingjong's already dead. He's like, you saw it too. The real Earthmaster was the skeleton worshipped in the Netherwater Manor. Why did you think he couldn't control the shovel well? It didn't belong to him. The one behind you several hundreds of years ago. His original name was Heshan. He cultivated into a supreme, changed his name to the Blackwater. He devoured the Reverend of Empty Words and sent that creature to find you. He imprisoned and murdered the real Earthmaster and took his name and assumed his position in the heavens. And then, yep. And then that's when the hand clasped on his shoulder that warning. And it's like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I have to wait. Ah! So the question is, where's the Watermaster? Where's Pei Ming? What is the Heavenly Realm doing in all this, now that they know this bit of information? Are they going to come to the South Sea? Are they going to let Shilian take care of it? What's going on? What is Hua Chong going to do about this? Is Hua Chong going to get involved? I feel like Hua Chong would come to get Shilian. But what is he going to tell the Blackwater? How's that going to work? I don't know. But now that Shilian has inhabited the Windmaster's body, technically, the Blackwater can't hurt the Windmaster because it would hurt Shilian, in theory. So I feel like Hua Chong's going to show up and be like, we've hit a stalemate. We promised each other. You promised me you wouldn't hurt my Gege. I promised you I wouldn't get into your affairs. So we've kind of hit a stalemate. So what are we going to do? It's also fascinating that the soul shifting spell, it's fascinating because now it's like you have Qi Rong possessing the body of the dad, and now you have Shilian possessing the body of the Windmaster. It's very similar situations, but through very different reasons and means. It's just kind of funny because they're cousins and they're kind of in the same boat right now. The same boat, literally. Meanwhile, Pei Ming is out in a coffin with a little ghost in his hand floating around. Oh my God. I'm still reeling. Even after talking with y'all for over an hour, I'm still reeling. But my heart is broken for the Windmaster because the Windmaster's best friend has been their biggest enemy this entire time. This entire time. Like, became a woman, traveled with them, like, has sat next to them at all the meals, has been in their bedroom, has done everything with them. They've supported them, and they've been the one trying to kill them this entire time. Oh my God. Revelation of the novel so far. Revelation of the novel has been that Ming Yi has been the Blackwater. The Earthmaster has been the Blackwater this entire time, is like the revelation of the novel so far. And we're only on volume 4. We are only halfway through volume 4. We still got another half of this story to go. Oh my God. So yeah, next week is actually a pretty big chunk. Next week is going to be chapters 124 and 125. So I have to wait 10 days before I can read it. So that sucks. But yeah, so that sucks. But you know what? I'm going to be very interested in knowing your thoughts down below. So I hope you all enjoyed this reaction and discussion. I know I did. I'm still in shock. And it's probably going to take me 10 days to process all of this. And process your comments and things like that. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. R.I.P. BEEFLEAF. But we can maybe we'll get some flashbacks or something. I don't know. I'm still going to process this and try to figure out how I feel about it, but holy cow. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And I'll be back. It'll seem like to you very soon, but to me it'll feel like an eternity with more Heaven Officials Blessing.